Person to pull this caliber of people together. Give a huge hand for the panel. Everybody spoke amazing. That was such an inspirational thing. I'm looking forward to catching up with several of those people. So, did you want me to just speak, or did you want to do questions? Which did you prefer?
I would like to ask you a couple questions. Definitely also on your story. First.
Okay. So first off, let me ask you guys, because one of the most important things, I'm here to serve you guys. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. I don't take anybody's time lightly. My time is no more important or significant than anybody else's. So what really are you guys here for? The people that were really only here for maybe observing an event, most of them left, which is fine. What are you guys here for? What would be the best things that I could do to potentially serve you? Don't all yell out at once. Yes. Okay, you're here to support Kevin. Okay.
Support Kevin.
Great. Networking. Okay. Support in what regard?
Just with everything anybody's trying to do with their life, I'm here to just support.
Okay, you're here to support. Okay.
I'm here to determine my definition of success.
Okay. Okay. Who's here just because they're here? Who's here because I love Kevin? Okay, everyone knows Kevin. Okay. All right, Kev. So you tell me what you'd like me to speak about. You know, I'm here. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to speak for you. I'm very proud of what you're doing. I think that this is one of the best events I've been to. I'm very impressed with the caliber of people here, and it's an honor to share. So whatever you want me to do, my friend, I'm here for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just so.
Can you guys hear me in the back if I do this? Do I really need a microphone? No, so you keep the microphone. I don't need the microphone.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I just had to share you with the people I know because you're such a gentleman of your caliber. I also first want to ask you, what is your story? Like, hey, can you tell us about you and your background and how you got to this amazing life?
Sure. So my personal background, I come from multi-generational dysfunction on both sides of my family. I don't know if anybody else comes from that kind of a background, but on my paternal side, my dad's family, my great-grandfather came from a good family, but he was a drug addict, an alcoholic, and a gambler, a degenerate. So he was disowned from his family multiple generations ago, which is unfortunate, because he's Mark Zuckerberg's great uncle, so that's a bummer. But my grandmother, she grew up in a home that was abusive. She had my dad when she was 15. She was Jewish, obviously being a Zuckerberg, and she got in a relationship with a Christian guy and got knocked up at 15, which was just as taboo as being an interracial relationship in the 60s. So my dad had a 15-year-old for a mom. And I think that many of us, I mean, if you come from a line of dysfunction, there's a lot of things that people do, they just don't know any better. So my dad had a lot of challenges. He was addicted to sex, he cheated a lot, he ended up getting addicted to painkillers, he started selling painkillers to support the habit, he ended up in prison for several years. My mom, on my mother's side, my mom's mom, whom I never met, but my grandmother, she was schizophrenic and an alcoholic. And in the 60s and 70s, the treatment they gave you for schizophrenia was shock treatment. So my mom started taking care of the house at 10 years old. So my mom and dad did the best that they could. But my dad ended up in prison. So my mom is a hospice nurse. She was working 7 days a week. I started working at 12. At the time, my dad owned a deli. By the time I was 14, 15, I started working full time. I ride my bike 6 miles each direction. And it sounds much more noble to say that I wanted to help my mom and to buy things, but I really wanted money to buy things. But I was working 40 hours a week through high school, and I was giving my mom $500, $1,000 a month just to help pay the bills. Anybody from Long Island?
Yes, sir.
It takes 17 or so incomes to make it middle class in Long Island. So my mom was a single mom working 7 days a week, so I was helping her pay the bills. I'm the eldest of 3.
Where in Long Island?
All over. Where didn't I live? Center Reach, Holbrook, Coram, Belmore, Levittown, Massapequa, Middle Island.
South Hole.
I think that's all.
Where are you from?
North Shore, Port Washington.
Port Washington, beautiful area. So I worked full-time through high school, and I was blessed with an aptitude. One of the things I will say, a lot of people grow up with labels. People tell you that you're smart or you're dumb, or you're good at certain things. I spoke to someone, I don't know where she is, but she's a pianist, and she's been playing piano since 4 years old. So you're a pianist.
Yes.
So how many pianists played at your level at 4 years old?
I don't know.
None.
A handful.
Yeah, nobody is born a basketball player. Nobody's born a pianist. Nobody's born with any skill set. You learn it. It comes from effort. It comes from time. It's not based on your genetics. It's based on the effort that you put in and a desire to get better in that area. So I didn't really like playing sports, and so I started reading, and I loved reading. But because I read a lot, I developed an aptitude for learning. Because learning, I don't think that anybody in here, outside of a mental disability, I don't think people have less of a faculty to actually learn. It's really just a desire and how much you've actually done in that area. If you haven't read a book since you graduated high school, of course you're going to have a hard time retaining information. But if you started reading a book a week for the next 2 or 3 years, you'd become excellent at reading. But it's not you being good or bad, it's based on what you do. So I say that because I did well in school. I would have gotten kicked out had I not gotten good grades because did whatever I wanted, but I was able to get 5s on IP exams and do well. So graduating school, though, I did have a unique outlook. I didn't say what am I good at or what do I like. I said, what type of an income do I need to have a family on Long Island? And most people never play out the ultimate goal. How many people graduated and said, and they sat down and they put together a financial game plan for how much income they needed to have the life they truly wanted? Most people don't do that, you know? What was that?
I said, it doesn't really work out that way.
It doesn't always, but you need to at least know where you're going, right? So I had a lot of friends that said, I like, underwater basket weaving, and let me get a major in that because I like it. It's not that it's good or bad, but if you spend $80, $100, $200,000 in education, that's going to get you a job with a starting salary of $40,000. It's not that it's bad, but how are you ever going to financially support a family with that kind of thinking? So, I mean, just to have a basic middle-class life on Long Island, you need about $400,000 a year of income, I figured out, to have a house in a good area and be able to have a good district for my kids and to be able to ultimately be able to save for retirement properly. And when you really figured it out, you lose half in taxes off the top, and that was 2006. So, but it seemed like you could either do something that mattered and impact people. Who here is pursuing a passion, something that they love, impacting people in art? And very often you don't create, not always, but you very often end up in a position with charity work like that, or an art where you're not making an income potentially that's as stable as you'd like it to be. Not always, but very often. Or you could, kind of go into engineering or finance and spend 12 and 15 hours a day in an office. It's not bad, but you never were able to see your family. And you potentially weren't able to pursue what you were truly passionate about. Does anybody else feel that way or have ever felt that way in what they're doing? Or is it just me? Raise your hand if you feel that way, just so I know I'm not talking to myself here. Okay, some of you guys. So that's where I was at, and I was going to go to med school. I figured I could become a doctor. I figured, I could help people, I could make a lot of money. I'd still never see my family ultimately, but at least I could do something that was noble and impacted people. I could feel like I lived a life of significance. But when I was 18, my whole life changed. A friend of mine, his BS high school job was selling skis. He'd smoke pot in the basement and sell skis at a place called Sundown Ski Lodge in Lake Grove, for anybody that's from Long Island. So he worked there, and he told me he met a guy that had retired at 28 years old. And I didn't know anybody that retired at 28 years old. I had never met anybody like that. This was 2006. There was no Facebook gurus and mentors in your news feeds telling you that they were going to give you the secrets in the world. You couldn't even be on Facebook unless you were in college, and I was still in high school. But I said, I need to meet this guy. And one of the things I can say that hopefully will add value is most people don't have the self-image or the follow-through to pursue people in life that are more successful because of their self-image. So they typically put themselves in a category where their self-image is like a thermostat, and it continually makes you self-sabotage and not pursue opportunities in your life. So a friend, not a friend, but a mentor and someone that I've done some work with, I don't know if anyone's read Start With Why by Simon Sinek. I was part of one of his workshops for an introductory, just for a speaking workshop he does, Speak Like a Leader, which is an excellent workshop if everybody's looking to do that. But he tells a story of a homeless person, and he's a marketing guy. He's always been involved in marketing and why marketing works and really what is good marketing versus bad marketing. And he said that there was a homeless person he did a test with where he said, can I change your sign? And he said, how much money do you normally make? And she said, I normally get like $30 a day on a best day, begging in New York City. He said, can I change your sign as a test? And he changed their sign. And he said, rather than saying what typical marketers do, which is I'm homeless, I'm a veteran, I need money, please help me, which all bad marketing is about yourself and your company and what you do. And all good marketing is about whomever's purchasing it and the buyer. So he just changed the sign. He said, I know you're busy and I know you can't give to everybody. Change the sign, I know you're busy, I know you can't give to everybody. But if you give once this month, if you could please give it to me, I could really use it. So she got $40 in 2 hours. Now, the story was interesting about marketing if you have a marketing background, but that's not really what I took away from it. The thing that I found interesting was what she did. Once she made that $40, what did she do?
Not in a good use.
Cosmetics.
She left for the day.
Yeah,
She left. Why did she leave?
because she already made enough.
Because she believes she needs $40 a day to live on. So if you're okay with $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, whatever the number, if that's enough for you to live on, you never do more than that. So when I met a guy that was retired in his 20s, or I heard of someone like that, I pursued him. And I didn't know anything. I was 18, I smoked pot, went to parties, I was a good guy, I was doing the best I could, but I was just doing the best I could, trying to figure out what to do. And I pursued him, and he had the life that he wanted. He retired in his 20s, he had built a multi-million-dollar international company, and for me, not that material things are bad. I mean, having financial success is certainly a part of the equation, but for me, success is multi-dimensional. If you weigh 400 pounds and you're divorced and your kids hate you, but you make millions of dollars a year, that's not success. On the flip side, it's not success if your kids love you and you do triathlons and you can't pay the bills. That's also not success. Success is multidimensional. So he made a very significant 7-figure income, but he was home with his son every day. And he had a great marriage. And his wife, and him and his wife loved each other. And they were able to travel, and they were able to do philanthropy. They started a mission center in Honduras. There's 100 women and children to be on the streets if it wasn't for his time and their money and their vision for that. So I pursued him, and he taught me the industries that he was in. He developed assets online, transitioning business from offline to online, but he tested me through me, telling me to read a book, and I followed through, and I was naive. The reality is I could say everything that I do right now and never have any competition because the statistical likelihood of any of you actually doing anything that I say is virtually zero. There's no shortage of information. There's shortage of follow-through. And marketers like to prey on your desire to make money quickly and easily like it's going to be easy. There's no secret to having six-pack abs. There's no secret pill. Everyone knows that I have six-pack abs. You eat lettuce and grilled chicken, and you do thousands of crunches. Why don't more people have six-pack abs? Because they're not willing to make that kind of a sacrifice. It's not a shortage of information. It's a shortage of follow-through.
No, I got the six-pack abs.
Yeah, you do. You look good.
Plastic thing that holds it all together.
That's it. That's it. Bill, right? Bill, William? Yeah. So I'm with you. So do I, So all that being said, I pursued Tony, and he was somebody that was just a tremendous person. He totally changed my life. So because of his help and his mentorship, while I worked a full-time job, I developed assets. I retired from a full-time job at 25. My wife will fully retire this year. I have newborn twins. They're 3 months old, a boy and a girl, which I'm very thankful for. And, I want to be very, very clear. There's people in this room that make significant more money, and I'm not a guru. I want to be very, very clear. I've studied psychology, and I coach and mentor people. I help people develop companies, but I've just been able to develop a passive source of income because for me, I wanted to homeschool my kids. I wanted to be with my wife. I wanted to do charity work. I wanted to be able to live my values and pursue my passions. But the only reason I'm here speaking is not because I'm better or smarter. I've done nothing different. I just followed better mentorship, and I was blessed to have an opportunity to meet somebody that had the life that I truly wanted. Because you're not going to be able to model after something without a guide. If nobody in your life has a successful marriage, the likelihood of you having a successful, passionate marriage for 50 years is very low.
No.
It's not that anybody's bad. It's just less likely. If you don't have people in your life that have created financial independence in their 20s and 30s, the likelihood of doing it is not that any person's better or worse. It's just what's the value of the information and what are the results that the person's created in the area that they're talking about. So here we are at wherever we are in Manhattan at Kevin Shrews' event.
Rose. But